Okay, my friends, get ready for this. They're all asking about extraterrestrial life. Was there ever life on Mars or any other planets? Let's explore that, because I can tell you for absolute fact there was life on Mars. I don't believe there is any now, but it was there, and I'll show you the evidence right now. Okay, my friends, this just came out today. NASA's going to Pilot Mountain Sample 21 Mars rock samples. They're looking at these Mars rock samples. Well, I have some things to show you, because I followed this mission, which was Curiosity, back, I believe it was 2012 it started, and I was there because I was, well, I wasn't there. I was doing my Mudfossil research at this particular time, and I wanted to see what was going on Mars compared to what was going on Earth. And when I discovered, you'll see exactly what was going on in both places, and it's the exact same thing in both places, and it turned out to be biology. All right, you see this? This goes back to 2012, August of 2012. Curiosity rover is up on Mars, starting to send back pictures, and the pictures were absolutely stunning. At first it was just sort of a flat nothing landscape, and then they started digging around, and I'll show you the pictures they did send back from back then, because I had recorded everything and I was trying to see what made sense between what they were showing and what we have here on Earth. All right, and everybody's saying, oh, they're not even really on Mars. All those things are from Earth. No, they are not. I could tell because of the erosion patterns. What they were sending back from Mars has no erosion of water like erosion to speak of. You know, very little. And it's in certain places, they're just like dishes where at one time there was moisture on there and it ran into areas and that was it. But most of the stuff, the powdery stuff, just fluffs off, and there is no rivulets or tiny little erosion patterns to it. It's just dust that comes off, and I will show you that right now. You see this? We're going to come back to this in a minute. This is called the Mars crab. All right, and it's got that little thing above it, and there's a Mars crab and his legs sticking out. Well, it's obviously not a crab. Well, look at these different patterns here. There's a lot to look at, and you see how this is just dust. It's just dust fell off here. There's no little, watery patterns, rivulets, and anything coming off of there. This is it's a dry, desolate planet. It has no atmosphere to speak of that I know of. It has very, very thin atmosphere. They just photographed it, actually, and it's very, very thin. So I don't think it's got much, well, I don't think it has hardly any moisture at all in the atmosphere. It could have it in the grounds and so forth, that's fine. But in the atmosphere itself, which would be sort of a protection layer from the radiation, I don't think it has it. So you get a drying effect and just a powdery, dripping off of the powder. Just it doesn't run off in watery patterns. No erosion to speak of. All right, so what do we know about Mars rocks? Well, Curiosity went up there over 10 years ago, and I believe it's still functioning. As for last I heard, it was still functioning. And this was a Curiosity rover, and they sent back some incredible pictures right away. The Mars crab, the Mars Morse code, the Mars blueberries, and then they just forgot about it. And I'm going to show you what they are and what they really are. They're not just rocks. All right, this goes back to, I think it was 2015, somewhere, yeah, 2015, January 2015. And they're sending back these Mars blueberries. I have better shots than this, but this was the blueberries. You see this? This is the Mars crab. No, this is not an alien cave crab on Mars. This is August 2015. And this, I will show you this crab. Here's the Mars crab. Right here. You see it? We're going to be seeing this in a second. I have some better shots than this. All right, here's the Mars Morse code. Same time frame, back to 2015, somewhere around there, 2016. At last, evidence is in. No one can deny it any longer. There is intelligent life on Mars, sending us a message. I think they're just teasing, because it comes down and it says, the message to the descent exists is a series of dots and dashes on a Martian surface. It looks for all the world as if it's written in Morse code. Well, then they go on, then they say it was likely from some kind of an impact crater. Likely an ancient impact crater, so they just blow it off like it was nothing. And then they have a whole bunch of other things that they can't explain. It's talking a face staring up from the surface. I don't necessarily agree with that. The other ones I do agree with are the ones that I have absolute, as far as I'm concerned, concrete evidence to show that they're exactly what I say they are. Okay, there's the Mars blueberries again. This is a better shot. And they are those little interstitium balls. And this was the Mars Morse code. And these are nothing more than the blueberries, because all the straps have eroded. In the other place, they completely eroded and just left the balls. All the straps were gone. So it was a different type of erosion in two different places. But we also have them here on Earth. See these here? They're called the Moki marbles. And what happens is all that skin that was above, just like this is nothing more than skin. I know it sounds outrageous, but it is true. This is skin. This is the floppy stuff that's right under your surface skin that stretches and pulls and all that stuff, because you can move around. And these are the balls that anchor in these walls. And they have eroded out, and this is all the mud that this creates. And these are the balls that were in here. The same thing with these, only everything's gone, and all that's left is the balls. All the straps are gone. Of course, all these straps are gone because they've eroded down. The straps aren't real tough. The balls are the tough part. The red stuff is just floppy. The other straps, well, here it is right here. You see this? This is what we're looking at. All right, this is nothing more than that skin, the white skin up at the top. And this is nothing more than the red stuff. And if you wash that all away, the balls would drop to the bottom, because they're the tough part. The brown strappy stuff, these are the straps. They would erode away too in a condition like here. Now on Mars, that's the only place you would ever see this all looking like this. As I showed you the Mars Morse code. That's just nothing more than a Mars Morse code laying this way, and some gathered skin and some pulled skin. You see, remember what it looks like here? If you gathered some up, it would pinch together. You'd have all these things right together. Well, let's see if we can see that. Well, look at what we see. Pinch together, stretched apart. You see that? That's what happens with your skin. And this is just sort of normal. And this again is the Mars Morse code. And again, the pattern of weathering indicates to me there's zero possibility this could happen on Earth. It's absolutely impossible. There is no weathering from a moisture whatsoever. This is sandblasted. Just like dust going here all day long, blowing around. And this is a mound. So it's sort of sandblasted this more than down and below, and they stayed preserved where they're not getting whacked hard. And these, of course, this is a stretch mark there. And then the Mars, the crab, I showed you the Mars crab, and that's it right here. Now, what can we take away from this? This is an artery. It's all, come on, Roger. Well, you make your own decision after I show you what I have to show you. And again, no pattern of moisture weathering whatsoever. Nowhere, anywhere. There's no moisture there. That's not on Earth. This moisture is going to happen sooner or later everywhere. It's not happening here. Now, so let's take the crab. This big round red thing is an artery. These legs are the blood vessels. And what do the blood vessels do? They service tissues. And what tissues are they servicing here? They're servicing a muscle. And how can I say that? Well, because here's the muscle right here. These are sarcomeres. You see this? These cuts here, these cuts here, these cuts here, all over. This is the blood vessel. All right, that was all pumped up here. And it is sending blood to all of these sarcomeres. And they pinch together. And you can pull your muscle in like this. But it requires a ton of blood for your muscles. It's when they're really working. So this is pumping all that blood in through here. Now, again, the runoff is just dust. Just dust. The artery is there, the vein is right above it, which brings the blood back. The artery pumps the blood down, and it gushes through every single tissue, every single cell. 100% of the cells in your body are continuously being flushed with new blood. And it's just pumping blood like crazy through your body. And then it has to be sucked back up through the vein to get recharged. But this is sarcomeres. Don't forget these slots here. And all of these tiny, 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 tiny little cuts here. You see this? What's that all about? This is connective tissue. These are blocks called sarcomeres, and they pull together to make muscles work. Let me show you the anatomical. You see this? This is literally what sarcomeres are. Those little stripes coming down here and down here, those are the cracks between the sarcomeres that have eroded out and just dusted out because they're kind of a gooey, floppy stuff. And the same thing with the red in between here. That's what all that dust was down below. It's just dusted out. Now, all of this, can you see how many tiny, tiny, tiny little lines there is in there? All right, all of these are the connective tissue. When this comes together, you get this. When it's relaxed, you get this. Now, I just showed you up on Mars that this is right where the Mars crab is. All right, so here it is right here, and here it is right here. That's it. And the only difference is all of the dust has come out of the sarcomeres. It's just red floppy stuff, just sort of, dried up and powdered out, basically. And again, no erosion from water. This is Mars. I have people, didn't go to Mars, this is all crazy. You people believe this? Yes, I absolutely believe it because I understand what I'm looking at. I don't just believe something because I believe it, or I don't believe something because everybody else tells me don't believe it. I believe what I believe because I believe it based on what I do to understand it. I don't just dismiss anything. All right, and this is on Mars, no question whatsoever. Okay, get ready for the shocker du jour. The Mars crab and all the sarcomeres, these are what the sarcomeres look exactly like. And now let's take a look at Petra. Well, what does Petra have to do with anything? Well, I don't know. What do you think? This is Petra. This is the main entrance to Petra. They call this the treasury, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I think so. Look at the exquisite carving. It's carved in this red basic clay. Well, guess what it's actually carved into? That's carved into blood. And oh, come on, Roger. Yes. This is nothing more than a Mars crab, and these are sarcomeres. You see these? And this here? They didn't erode like they did on Mars, because Mars is just dry, it's just powdered out. This is still moist, and what did I show you up inside of here? Now these are these blocks, these are sarcomere blocks. This, I don't know, they scuffed this all up. But these are these blocks, you see them here? Take your time and look, you see the blocks? All these little poked holes in here, I believe, are there so that the moisture can run out. I think they carved all this when it was somewhat moist, because this was right after the flood. All of these, the walls in South America and everything, they were all wet when they did it there. That's why they fit so perfect. They were big blobs of tissue. And when I say big blobs, you want to see how big this muscle was? This is the artery. All right, so can I prove that? I think I can. All right, here it is. This is Petra, right there. You see all these? Hold on, let me turn this off. Sometimes you get a little better action there. Again, Petra. You see these blocks right here? You see them? Boom, boom, they're everywhere. The same blocks as down here on the side of Petra. These are all muscle sarcomeres. This here, let me back this out. This is as close as I can get to it. But this is all, the whole thing here, this is all muscle. This is all muscle blocks, sarcomeres. And all the way down here, same thing down here. I don't know what kind of creature it was, but again, they were just beyond the average imagination to ever imagine it. Now, this artery fed this system here, all the way through here, and that pumped blood into all of this muscle in this area, and it was flowing hot and heavy at some point in time in the past. And now it is Petra's facade, and I believe they call this the treasury. Let's look. You see the blocks of sarcomeres? It's just everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. All right. So that's all I can say. It is what it is. And let's look up inside here, and then we're going to look up above, up in this area where you can actually see the connective tissues. Hold on a second. All right, so this is inside Petra. And again, I think they call this the treasury. Now you see up here, this is where actually blood used to filter through here to some degree. This is connective tissue. I don't know exactly how they put this in here, but it looks like... All right, this is inside the treasury, and you can see this is bloody stuff coming out, and this is connective tissue. Now, up above this is this. Where is it? And this is nothing more than connective tissue and muscle and so forth, which is in these sarcomere areas. And this is, it looks to me like there was a tendon anchor here at some point. All right, this is right in that same area. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's right up in that area. Now, muscles are fine. They're wonderful, except they have to be anchored somewhere, and they anchor to a tendon, and a tendon anchors to a literal ball. You see this? I believe there was a ball here. For some reason, it's gone, and they're all gone. But where you see how it comes in, swishes in, and you almost pinches together. I believe there was an anchor ball here which would have let this stuff stretch and move and do all those kind of things, but the ball was locked in here. And you see you have some, where you ever see the black, it's usually vein blood, sometimes it's lymph, same sort of thing. But all this is red muscle tissue, and the white is the connective tissue. Connective tissue is what really does the pulling and does the work. So having muscle is fine. All right, that pulls in this, and those are those really tiny fibers. These are just big ropes eventually. They'll turn into a rope, the tendons. They call them rope tendons, and then there's aponeurosis tendons, which are flat tendons, but these are the rope style. All right, so I think I showed you most of the Mars stuff, the blueberries, and then they're the same as the Mogi marbles. And it's all the same as this interstitium, and it's the same as these balls that are in your body. And these creatures are absolutely just enormous. I showed you the Mars crab, sarcomeres, the Petra, the Morse code. And this is where Mars was impacted by Venus. I don't know if I showed you that. This is wider than the United States. This is what wiped out Mars. And Venus almost hit us, which was what caused our catastrophic flood. It was recorded in history at about 1500 BC. So I'm showing you all of this stuff, and at the same time, hold on one second, let me show you another thing. All of this happened at the same time as I was investigating my mud fossils. It was just I was swamped with information, but it was perfect timing. All right, wait till I show you this. This is the Rosetta Philae lander. Now, they landed up here, I believe, right around the same time, 2014, something like that. Yeah, November 2014. It ended on the 2016. And they actually landed on this. I think I already showed you this, where it was spinning and it's giving off the different radiation. I can't remember. Okay, I wasn't actually involved in this, but I was as close to being involved as you can get. This is Rosetta Philae, and they landed on Comet 67P, and this was back in 2014, and they actually had a lander called the Philae lander, landed down in here and took samples called Juliet and I can't forget. But Kenneth and Juliet, I think they were called. But these particles turned out to be organic, and they said yes, they're organic molecules. They're just like life molecules. And because this is a body part, I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to show you the evidence to support what I'm saying. You see that like that? That's a broken bone. All right, like I said, this is where it gets absolutely crazy. This is Comet 67P. And they landed the Philae lander right down in here, I believe, right in this area somewhere. Or these are the backup spots, but I think they actually ended up landing right down here. Anyway, whatever. They collected samples, they looked at it, they got right on the surface, and I watched every little detail of this, and they were very forthcoming. These are all my original information about this. This is a hip socket, I believe. And this is the epiphysis, and then there's the physis underneath, which goes inside here. And then this is the bone. And here's what it is anatomically. Remember this, there's the head on there. This comes down, and then there's a sideways piece. All right, here's your hip. And this was fractured basically in this manner here, approximately. They break in a whole manner of ways. But there's the head, and then it comes down to the neck, and then it's broken here. And we can see, I'll show you some other spots here. All right, but you can see what it is. You see what it is. Now, this is what happens around that neck, is all of these tendons. You see these tendons? Or well, tendon goes to muscle. These are actually not tendons. They are ligaments, basically. They're investment ligaments that twist. They hold this thing so it can twist and still come back to where it's supposed to be. And I will show you them on 67P, because 67P is this. The ball is ripped away and it's fractured right in this area somewhere. All right, and here's 67P. One more time. The ball is ripped away, it's fractured here and cracked down along this line. So, you know, it's a little hard to tell for sure, but anyway, it's something like that. Now, this is looking from the back. Remember I showed you the tendons? Ligaments, whatever you want to call them, here they are. This, I believe, is another bundle of ligament that went off to the other side. Remember, there's some that goes this way and that way. You see, they go this way and that way around here, but most of them wrap straight down into the ball. And that's what we have right here. You have to look at the details. You don't pay attention to the details, then you're just wasting your time. Here's the ball. I believe, as I can say, I think they landed right down in here. And this is just all runoff of bodily tissues and fluids that are just dried out in the sun. And it left these tendons, and then that coming up. Now, on the other side, it broke up in here. Now, It broke up in here. I don't know how to show you, but this is showing how big this thing is. This is Raleigh, North Carolina. That's good size. Again, there's the ball, and here's where you can see the opening, the broken bone there. And I have some other shots here, like that they took as it was spinning. Here's one here. You see that? That's that bone spot right there. And you see how they're shooting out all these gases? Well, what's that all about? And where do you see this other one? Look at this one. That almost looks like it's shooting out a laser, but it's not. The sun is literally hitting this in just exactly the right way to go down deep through the artery and shoot out all those juices. Those are literally like gas grill juices. The sun is hitting it with no interference whatsoever, and all of its radiance into there. And I'll show you some other shots that, you know, show it pretty well. Here it is right here. You see it coming out of there? The sun is hitting right on it, boom. And it's just exploding gases out. And how big is that tube that is exploding out? 500 feet across. All right, now this goes back to 2015. Again, I was as involved in this as they were. I watched every single detail, and again, they were very forthcoming. And I have friends that are in this realm, and I have one friend that was with the European Space Agency and NASA and everybody else as an outside vendor, and he gets all this information first. Now, we weren't hooked up back then, but I was getting all this information, and now I get a plethora of stuff from him, because they're still doing a lot of looking at this, but they don't understand what they're seeing because they can't get their eyes open enough to see this is biology. You see these little flaps here, here. That's where those tendons were locked in. So this thing can twist, and it will come back to where the tendons were, or ligaments, however you want to call them, were at their, you know, normal position. And then you can twist them, and they're tough, they're tight, they're real tight. That's why they're used in this ball and socket situation. Now, what is all this little stuff? Those are all the little blood vessels coming up from the artery, feeds the whole thing. And then out of there, you have all these little blood vessels. They feed into all of the tissue that needs to be fed with blood. And here they are coming off here and here and here. And that's why they're shooting out wherever the blood vessel pointed at. And the sun has to hit it just the right way. This is not, there's no shooting out gases off of this or here or any of this stuff, because that's an implant. That's not, there's no blood required here. These are where your little blood vessels are, and that's where the artery is. And here's what the artery actually looks like. Look at the size of that sucker. 40 meters is this wide. And I believe there's about 4 of them in this. So that's 160 meters. That's approximately, somewhere going to go with 500 feet. And all of these little balls are blood vessels that are going in to feed all of the different, you know, tissues. You have to feed every single molecule that's in the whole body. Every single cell requires upkeep. You don't do that, you die. All right, so I showed you the gases shooting off in the 2 different ways. This thing, what a blast that is. That one there is nothing more than this. Now, here's Umaru. So I'm going to tell you right now, Comet 67P is a hip joint, as far as I'm concerned. I can't see any other possibility here. Now, Umaru is here. And you say, well, Roger, what is that? Well, Avi Loeb from Harvard looked at this and he said, ooh, it looks like a spaceship. And he said it could be an alien spacecraft. Well, and I tried to get a hold of Avi, and no response there. Now, I can tell you exactly what this is. That's a finger. He said, oh, come on, Roger. Well, this is grip skin. You see this peeled off part right up here? That is literally the skin that's on your finger, and it's peeling off. Now, before we go any further, you're going to say, oh, this is just an artist's rendition. Well, there is something about that that's correct, but not correct. This is literally almost exactly like a 2D CAT scan, which is a fabulous CAT scan. They take thousands of pictures of this thing as it's spinning in space, and then they overlay them, and they get the different shadows. And you can see so much when you put things in shadows. Absolutely unbelievable. You can see things that there is no detail in very good detail in shadows. So then they made the rendition of it based on that, which is a 2D CAT scan as far as I'm concerned. And I'll show you the ones I have from my giant fingertips. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now, right up here, this is what's called an apical tuft. And it's a round piece just like this. All right, and all of these tiny little fibers come up and lock into this at the tip of your finger, and that's what makes your finger be able to do all kinds of things. This strap, now take your time. This strap comes down to the joint right here. This is the joint, right there. All right, there's a little one right here where the tip can twist. And then this is the one right in the middle, the big one. All right, and so you can see it's all locked in here. All those little fibers, they come up and they lock into the apical tuft. This is the joint right here. That is the exact joint. And on the other side it has the same looking fibers all locked in here tight. And they come down this way. Now, look at what's going on here. This is your knuckle. This is actually right there your knuckle. All right, and coming out of your knuckle, you're going to have two major tendons that come over the top of your knuckle to make your finger jiggle around back and forth. It broke right off at the knuckle. And I believe the bone is still right in here, and it's snapped right here. And the tendons that run up across your knuckle are here. All right, now take your time and you just stop it and think about it and pay close attention to what you see. This is just ripped right off. You see it? I believe this is where the bone is right here. And it's broken, and it would have gone down this way. Excuse me. And this is the investment right at the bone right over the top. And I have so much stuff here. I have fingertips. I have the same thing. I have a fingertip that has the same grip skin. Well, I'll show it to you. You know, I was going to go real deep into a maro, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you right now, that is a finger. That is the tendinous material that runs down to the joint of your finger right there. This is the apical tuft. This is the actual grip skin. This stuff that's not quite peeled away. That is the thick grip skin on your fingertip that does all the work, and they peel off just like that. There's no bloody stuff in it. It's really tough. Apical tuft, tendon, joint, tendon fiber, knuckle. And this is Omaro. It's a gigantic finger.